The Redondo Beach Center for Spiritual Living and the ministry of Dr. Moira Foxe presents Living Ideas.
So, my dear ones, here's what we're knowing, that today we're equal to the question that's going to be asked of us to ponder and consider this week. How do you live? And this question has nothing to do with the conditions of your life, or whether you're living comfortably or not, or poorly or richly, or whether you live in the right neighborhood, or whether you have the great employment, or how you're doing, or whether your kids are going to the right schools, or nothing to do with any of that. That's all to do with the external world. The question this week has to do with the internal world, and it can be summed up in 7 words. How. Well, no, those are the first 3, but how isn't important. How do you live your life? Consciously or unconsciously? So that's the question we're going to be pondering this week. And how we answer that question will affect the way we experience and express our lives. And we are knowing that here always the endeavor is to become more conscious, more awake, more alert, more at one with the livingness of our life and in the moment. That's why we're here. It's all about here, it's all about now, and it's all about paying attention and being awake to the living that I'm living. And when I am, the odds are I will make great decisions with regard to how I am living. And so, of course, asking that question, how do I live? I can't really answer that question until I see myself within context. In context, what is the context? I have to know who I am. I have to know where I came from, and I have to know why I am. So consequently, I'm not going to fully answer that question unless I am in touch with my source, the creator of everything, unless I understand that I am an aspect of its being. I am part of that whole great thing called life itself, an essential part, a living part, a component without which it couldn't be itself, and it couldn't call itself whole without me being in it. That's how significant I am, and I have to know why I am. And I simply am to be an expression of that life that created me, took up its residency in me, and lives through me. Now, these are all big and important things that we are getting to ponder this week, and certainly not for wusses, but then we're not wusses or we wouldn't be here. And of course, when you're looking at your source, you've got to understand the nature of source, what that is. And I find one of the very best definitions I've ever come across with regard to who and what life is, who and what God is, who and what source is, was from the 3rd or 4th century, and it goes like this. God is the sphere whose center is everywhere, and whose circumference is nowhere. Now, I wasn't told that as a child when I asked who is God. God is a sphere whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. Wow. What I love about that is it takes away our tendency to describe God in anthropomorphic terms, to see God as a superhuman being. And it puts us in touch with the idea that this thing called life, this thing called God, this thing called the Creator, this thing called Source, is a power, an infinite presence, an infinite intelligence, an infinite force, an infinite might, infinite life, infinite love, infinite being. That's what this thing called God is. So much more than we ever thought. So much more beyond that beautiful, benign, elderly gentleman in the white robes with the white beard. So much more than that. So much more than that. And then it plunges us into, well, if this is what life is, this is what God is, this is what my source is, and I am made in its image and likeness, what does that say about me? It says that I am a point of power within that circle whose center is everywhere and has no limit or boundary or circumference. I am a point, and a point is a circle too. I am a point of power in that living circle of life. I'm in the midst of it. I'm in the flow of it. I'm in the river of its grace right in there. That's what it's telling me, that I too, like it is, am omnipresent. I'm full of the omnis. I'm full of omnipresence, omnipotence, and omniscience. Like the source of my being, I have knowing within me. I have power within me. And I have presence within me that's everywhere. And that I am this point of power, and there is no limit to the infinite possibility that I am, none whatsoever. That I cannot be contained and I cannot be bound. I cannot be kept back, I cannot be kept down. Because I am as my source is, everywhere present. There is no circumference to me, the essence of my being. Wow, I mean, there's something to ponder. And that's not what I was taught as a child with regard to who I was. But by Jiminy Crickets, I'm catching up on it now. As are you, as are you. That's who you are as you sit here laden down with angst, laden down with burden, laden down with a sense of lack, limitation. I don't care how much you have, you're laden down. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We'd have transcended and gone on to bigger and better things. But while we're wearing a body, there's always that little sense, niggly sense of there has to be something more. There has to be something more. And if I'm thinking there has to be something more, I'm thinking I'm without something. I'm without something. There's something I haven't got. Not true. I have it all. Right as I am, exactly as I am, in the state I am, be it good, bad, or indifferent, I have it all, and I have it right here, and I have it right now. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-bum. I have it all right here and right now, regardless of circumstances. So, my dear ones, it is by no small wonder that our ancient ancestors, the Greeks, said to us all, sit up straight, stand up straight, and know yourself. Know yourself. Man, know thyself. Know yourself. There must be a reason for me to know myself. Shakespeare came along later on and he said, now having known yourself, to your own self be true. But I have to know myself to be true to myself. So what is the great self of me? I've just described it. I'm not who I think I am, and I'll never tire of saying that to you or to myself. I'm not who I think I am. I'm not this depression. I'm not this sickness. I'm not this lack. I'm not this limitation. I am so not whatever the sum total of my awful circumstances are. I am not that at all. But if I choose to identify with all of those things, then that's what I am in my expression and in my experience and in my feeling of it all. Because that's how powerful I am, because what I know happens. What I accept happens. What I expect I experience. That's how it works. It doesn't work any other way. So I must come into the flow of the truth of my being if I am to flourish and to thrive as it is given to me to do. There are two predominant ways of perceiving life and living. I come into life as a small baby, as an empty creature to be filled. I go forward into the world, as it were, because I'm empty, with a begging bowl, begging from the world out there to fill my begging bowl and hope and hope and hope the world will be good enough to me to give me enough, and maybe even plenty. And maybe even plenty. That's one paradigm. And since time began, most of us have taken on that paradigm. I'm a beggar in the kingdom. I'm out there begging, hoping I will always get enough out there to keep me going. The second paradigm is to come into this world knowing I am an amazing spiritual being. I am an incredible soul. I come in filled with this hidden splendor, and it is given to me to discover it, to reveal it, and to live it and experience it. I come in with my cup filled and brimming over, and it's given to me to go out there and share the blessing and spread it around. That's the second paradigm, and few of us live our lives according to it. The first one has written on its begging bowl, "Getting is my experience on this plane." The second one has written on its cup of givingness, "Givingness is my experience on this plane." Now, of course, if I choose the second one to live by, the second paradigm, I am the cup of life's blessing here to splash out, spill over, and share the divine elixir that I have copious amounts of that can never be depleted, then my life is an incredible celebration and experience of peace and joy and fullness and plenty and well-being and loving relationship and creative expression. But if I'm out there as the beggar, I haven't got time, nor do I have the capacity to pay attention to how life truly is. I'm confined to my little nest, to making my little nest comfortably. And if I can make just a little nest comfortably, I'm happy to settle down in my little nest, and there I'll stay. I'll never soar, I'll never leave the nest, I'll never explore the world, I'll never know what it is that is out there, because I think I have it made with my little nest and its little comfort zone here. But what good is a nest to an eagle if the eagle cannot fly? That's what I say. And when you and I have come to the end of our sojourn here on this plane, and when we go on to our next experience, everybody says your life flashes before you. You see it all very clearly. And no one is there to judge us, but we do judge ourselves. The great self within us is going to say, "Oh, so how did it go down there? How did you get on? Were you a good competitor? Did you win the race? Did you climb to the top of your ladder? Did you make it big? Did you accumulate and amass all kinds of amazing things? Did you? Did you? Did you?" No, those are not the questions that are going to come. The questions that will arise will be, when you were down there, when you took on that task and you went down there to do what you went down to do to reveal the hidden splendor that was given to you to reveal, how did you live? How did you love? How did you give? How did you receive? How did you make a difference? How did you lighten loads? How did you bless? How did you heal? How did you mend? How did you fix? How did you integrate? How did you center? How did you recognize me in everything and in everyone, but most especially within yourself? How did you celebrate it all? Those will be the questions that will run through our minds. Not the loads of accumulations we accumulated to leave behind, to have people squabble over. No. It'll be all about the truth that sets us free. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. There's no other reason to be here except to discover, release, and reveal the hidden splendor within. The truth that sets us free. The truth that establishes integration. The truth that builds. The truth that unifies. The truth that helps us see what we're here to see. The life within all that lives us. And to be in relationship with that. It's all about the interior depth of being, the interior depth of perceiving, of knowing, of waking up and realizing. I'm going to read you a little story that is a story about each and every one of us in this room, but it doesn't have to end the way this story ends. And it's a piece by Anthony DeMillo. He's a beautiful, wonderful soul, a Catholic priest that lived for many years in India, a great mystic and a very aware individual. Anthony DeMello in his book called Awareness. And it's your story and it's mine, but it's up to you and it's up to me with regard to how it will end. A man found an eagle's egg and put it in a nest of a barnyard hen. The eaglet hatched with the brood of chicks and grew up with them. All his life the eagle did what the barnyard chicks did, thinking he was a barnyard chicken. He scratched the earth for worms and insects. He clucked and he crackled, and he would thrash his wings and fly a few feet into the air. Years passed, and the eagle became a very old man. One day he saw a magnificent bird above him in the cloudless sky. It gilded so gracefully and majestically among all the powerful wind currents, with scarcely a beat of its strong golden wings. The old eagle looked up in awe. "Who's that?" he asked. "That's the eagle, the king of the birds," responded his neighbor. "He belongs to the sky. We belong to the earth. We're chickens." So the eagle lived and died a chicken, for that's what he thought he was. Your story, my story, but the ending can be different. And the ending is up to you. You see, you create your own story. You're always making your own story. You're always inventing something or another for yourself to experience. But hey, if you didn't like what you've invented thus far, you can change the whole thing, throw out the plot, start over, create a new story. And decide this time, I'm not going to be happy just to settle in a nest. I don't care how comfortable the rutty nest is. It doesn't matter. I will know myself differently. I will think of myself differently. And because I do, I will feel in myself differently. And the difference will make all the difference. The choice is yours and the choice is mine every single day. Anthony DeMillo says, before enlightenment, depression. After enlightenment, depression. The difference is the depression doesn't bother me. I don't identify with it. It's okay for me to be depressed. And I don't try to stop it, prevent it, or resist it. It's depression. It will pass, like everything else passes. It's not me. It's just something having an experience through me for the moment. And I don't need to be scared of it, frightened of it, or resist it. It will pass. It's part of a human condition. You see, we have the idea that once we become enlightened, we're never again going to be sad, never again going to have a blue day, never again going to have a pain or an ache, never again going to have a challenge. It's the greatest load of baloney, that. All those things will still be there. The difference is we'll know how to handle them wisely and well. And we will let them have their few minutes in the sun, and then they'll be gone. Because we will not say, this is who and what I am. We'll know this is just something that's nothing, and it's passing through. And I will not make it something. It's a nothing, and I'm not going to make it something. Because I can. Because it's given to me. I know how to do this. And any condition is not my equal. I am its master. I am its master. It has no power over me. And I will take the truth of my being to this nothingness that has no substance to it and is not the truth. If it's not the truth, it has to be a lie. So again, you hear me say, take the truth to the lie, and the truth will always prevail. Always. Now, there is a living truth within you. God is the living truth within you, the living power, the living presence now within you, exactly as you are, in your sad, sorry state or in your elevated state, and all the states in between. God is the living power and the living presence within you. It's up to you to interact with that in a way that causes you to flourish and to thrive and to fly and to soar, or to ignore it and stay in the dumps. The choice is yours. Do you want to be a barnyard chicken all your life? And I have nothing against chickens, especially free range. They have to be free range. It's a good life. But if you give me a choice, am I going to choose to be a chicken or an eagle? I know what I am. If there's a sky and I can explore it, that's what I want to do. We're all natural spiritual explorers. And we will not stop until we experience it all, because we can. It is within us, the life, the power, the presence of the infinite, of the almighty, of the source of our being, the Father, the Mother, whatever you want to call it, of us all, has deeply implanted within us its own very power, its own very presence, its own very knowledge, its own very know-how. And if you and I choose to interact with that, if you and I choose to form a deep relationship with that, if you and I choose to stay in union with that, we are unstoppable. Nothing and no one can hold us back and tie us down. It's impossible. And to think anything other than that, Ernest Holmes says, would be to think the impossible. God by means of me, God by means of you, always on the move, upward, forward, and onward, about, around, above, below, within, without, God and only God in my life. And that's all I'm knowing, and that's all I'm allowing, and that's all I am giving voice to, that's all I'm hearing, that's all I'm seeing, that's all I'm feeling. And that is how I awaken and enlighten myself, by assuming the power that is already empowering me and saying yes to it. Would you like to contemplate these things this week? Yes. Asking yourself, how do I live? And getting the correct answer this week. Not only contemplating it, but putting it to the test. I dare you, I double dare you to put it to the test. Are we on? Yes. So it is.